Hi everyone, this is your second lesson on your new unit about narrative writing. Today's lesson is going to be very similar to yesterday's lesson, but we're going to be moving on to our next two elements of narrative writing or narrative text. So again, you're going to need your interactive notebook, and you'll need this for each lesson for the next couple of weeks. Outline your copybook like you usually would, title, date, essential question, learning objectives, etc. For today, you can actually continue working on the same page that we worked on yesterday. So where you wrote theme and setting, just underneath that, you can continue where we stopped off yesterday for our next one. So let's see if you can remember the 7 elements. Can you remember your mnemonic device? Okay, what was it that you can remember? Okay, so your T, S, C, P, C, D, P. Okay? Today we're going to be focusing on characters and point of view, and you should try and recall your mnemonic device. So what did you have? Okay, so we had, for my example yesterday, the small chicken painted cards during parties. Okay, so what was yours? Theme, setting, characters, point of view, characterization, dialogue, and plot. See if you can remember and see if it helps. So today we're going to be focusing on characters. Okay, the characters are, as you would imagine, the people or the actors in the story. But there are usually 2 main types of characters. Can you remember we had these in our novel of Mice and Men? Can you recall what is the main character also known as, or the enemy or the bad guy in a novel or a text known as? Great, some of you may have gotten it. You've got your protagonist and you've got your antagonist. The protagonist, like your pros and cons, your protagonist is the good guy, the hero or the heroine in a story who struggles against conflict, and he or she is usually the main character. The antagonist then is the bad guy or the villain, and they create the conflict for the protagonist within the story. We're going to move on to our second one now, but what you should be doing is making notes of those 2 definitions in your interactive notebook. So you should have theme, setting, and now you should have included character. Feel free to pause the video and make those notes in your own time. We're going to move on now to point of view. So what is point of view? A lot of the time you might say, well, from my point of view, I don't believe that is correct. So the point of view is from where you see it, okay? And you illustrate your opinion and your feelings through your point of view. But when you are writing a story, you can pretend to take on any point of view you like. So when we looked at, for example, of Mice and Men, the point of view was a third person point of view. Somebody else was telling the story. So what are the other types? You've got your first person, second person, and third person. The first person, the story is told from a main character's point of view. So the character would say, I went to the shop. We bought a lot of candy. The second person is usually used for instructions, okay? So if you were to buy a cabinet and you needed to put it together from IKEA, it would say you need to use the screw and put the 2 pieces of timber together, okay? So that's usually the second person. So we're probably going to focus mostly on the first person and the third person. The third person is the one we mentioned earlier, which is where the story is told from an outside point of view. And it uses pronouns such as he, she, and they. Once again, you should stop the video here or use the PowerPoint that I've also linked into your Google Classroom lesson for today. And you need to take note of this into your interactive notebook. First person, second person, and third person. The different types of point of view. By now, we should have covered 4 out of the 7 of our 7 elements of narrative writing. Let's try and recall them again. What are the 4 that we have done? T, theme. S, setting. C, well done, character. P, point of view, excellent. And the last 3 then are Well done. Good job. All we need to remember now is that we have done 4, and the last couple of ones we need to do is characterization, dialogue, and plot. Very good. So today, just like yesterday's lesson, we're going to look at our 2 questions again, and we are going to identify the characters and identify point of view. Very simple task, just so that you can implement what you have learned and answer the questions. So go to Google Classroom and answer the 2 questions, and you should be able to continue from there. Finally, I must remind you again to double check that you've marked your attendance and that you just go to Miss Kelly's email with the daily plans, and the link should be available there. Any questions? I'm always available on Google Hangouts.